Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify them. And friends, I love it when I talk to other fellow simplifiers out into the world, like my special guest today. Her name is Christy Lingo, and she is going to help us simplify and organize our workspaces. So if you are sitting right now amongst a pile of paper and a whole hot mess express, girl, this one is specifically for you. No shame involved. Christy Lingo is a mom of 2 boys and a professional organizer based in Columbus, Ohio. She loves working with overwhelmed mamas who love their kiddos but hate the mess. Everybody raise your hand. That's me. She wants you to have time to do what you love with who you love. She's also the host of Cocktails and Containers, a podcast dedicated to 2 of her favorite things, home organizing tips and cocktail recipes. She's also the author of 101 Clutter-Free Gifts and Why You Want Them to help people stop clutter from coming into your home. I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast today, Christy Lingo. Hey, Christy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat about this with you today.
Okay, let's geek out because this stuff is so much fun for me to talk about, like decluttering and like getting through all the faff and the noise that we have surrounded ourselves with. I'm going to admit right at the top of this episode, one of my things that is my absolute kryptonite, Christy, is this. I seem to be a magnet for paper. Like paper comes into my house, into my home office, into my work office in droves. And Lord knows I certainly need your advice on this. So here is a hot topic question for you is this. A long time ago in a land far, far away, my office manager, her name is Emily. I absolutely adore Emily. I will not change her name for the sake of this conversation because she will admit to this as much as I am now. She was my exact opposite in that I like a fairly tidy office and desk space, but Emily was like the absolute definition of controlled chaos. There was mountains upon mountains of things and stuff on her desk, and we always butt heads on that. So, Christy, simplify this. Is it better to have a clean and tidy desk or a desk of controlled chaos?
So, better is a hard word there, but let's just say that there are levels of organization and you can always be tweaking and making things work more efficiently. Mm-hmm. So yes, her controlled chaos may have been working for her, but I bet if you would have given me a couple hours with her to work out some systems that work with the way that her brain works, she could have worked a little bit more efficiently or found things a little bit quicker or been able to sort of get more done in her day just by having, a little bit more to a system on her desk. Like, I get it. I was an art major in college. I get this whole idea that, you're wrecking my vibe here. This is how I work. Like, I understand that. But I also know that structure, and it doesn't have to be very rigid. It doesn't have to be perfectly alphabetized, labeled files front to back and color-coded. There is a system that will work for you. And I think that a lot of times, there's a great book about organizing for the right and left sides of the brain. Everything is sort of created for the people who are very analytical and logical and alphabetized and things like that. But there are plenty of organizing options that are out there for the people that are more creative and that don't work with file systems and things like that. So I say that just because it's working for you doesn't mean it couldn't work better.
Yeah.
And also everybody's systems are going to look a little bit different. What works in my office and for my business may not necessarily work for someone else. And that's the great thing about working with somebody who is an organizing professional is they're going to have touched a lot of different office spaces or kitchens or pantries or closets, whatever you're working on. And they're going to be able to suggest something that you've tried filing systems and filing systems don't work, but that doesn't mean that's the only option that's out there. So I say, yes, you may be feeling like you're doing your best, but you can always Kaizen it. You can always do 1% better, and that's just going to make you better at your job, more efficient, and it's just going to make you look better to the people that are above you.
Well, and that's it. And so as her boss back in the day, I'd say, hey, can you grab me the file for so-and-so? And she'd be like, can I get that to you in just a second? It's because she really didn't know where it was. Like, that's real. Like, but, I think that, she did have a sort of system to find things in her own special way. But I think you're right. I think that there is not one size fit all when it comes to organizing your desk space or what have you. And it's also, can I just say this out loud? Nothing drives me more crazy when you see a photo on Instagram of somebody's perfect desk with their perfect little desk organizers, and you're like, girl, that never looks like that. You have just posted a picture that's been a styled shoot of something that's just not reality. That's not what we're talking about as the end goal here, right, Christy?
Absolutely not. No, I actually just posted about this on Instagram yesterday, this idea of the Pinterest perfect spaces that are organized. A lot of times you'll look at them and they're not realistic. They've got 3 pens and no computer, and they've got a desk with no drawers. Ain't nobody getting any work done in that space.
That's right.
So it really comes back to organizing is very personal. It's personal to your job. It's personal to the space that you have available. It's personal to the personality that you have, and whether you're a little more, I need things in piles or I need things in files. It's a very personal thing, but I promise you that there is a system out there that we can create for you.
Okay, so where do we even begin to cut the clutter and break the cycle? What's step 1?
Well, first thing is keep it super basic. Keep it very simple, because I think a lot of times we jump into saying we're going to get organized. And so we take a whole day and we pull everything out and we do what you're supposed to do. So we sort it, we purge anything we don't need in the space, we put like items with like items, and we over-label files, and we buy all these office supply products. And it's too much. It's too much change for one thing. And if you are incorporating too much change at first, it's never going to stick. It's just like dieting. If you cut out everything that you love to eat and try to go on a diet, it's not going to work. Same with organizing. So if you overhaul your entire desk space and then you go to work and you're like, it's very clunky to grab a pen, or you're not being able to pull the papers that you need when you need them, it's not going to work, and it's just going to go back to square one again. So think about your basic necessities. What are the things that you actually need to use to do your job? What are those very basic things? Make a list. I love lists. And even if you're anti-list, make a list here. What are the things that you touch throughout the day for your job? And those are the things that you need to be nearby. What are the second tier things that are maybe things that you use on a weekly basis that could be placed a little bit further away from your desk, so that not everything is right there, with the possibility of creating more clutter on your desk? And then what are the things that are sort of archival, or that you touch very infrequently, that could go in a closet, or, if you're in a shared office space, in sort of a basement storage unit or a little bit further away? Really go in with a plan of action and start with a very basic sort of set of rules of, this is what I need in my desk, this is what I need within walking distance, and this is what I very rarely get to. And then just very simple files with basic broad categories that you can always make more complicated later. That's what I tell people all the time. No matter what the space, start simple and then really pare it down into those micro categories after you've sort of lived with it for a while. And you're like, you know what? I feel like I'm getting into this folder that's labeled statements all the time, and I really do need it broken up to by vendor, and then go in and do it then. But at first, keep it basic. These are all my statements. These are all my checks. These are all these kinds of things. And keep it basic, and then break it down as you see fit.
Yeah, and I think that that's excellent advice on thinking about, what do I touch every single day, what's within walking distance, and what is archival. Because, you hear that you have to keep your files for your taxes for the last 7 years. That's not something you need to have at hand at your desk piling above you, So yeah, I certainly see the value in that. And is it a matter of pulling it all out and excavating and then kind of putting things back with intentionality? How do you like to work?
That is how I recommend doing it. Don't think you're going to get it done, especially on a Friday afternoon with the last 45 minutes that you have. You're not going to get your desk space organized like that. I recommend maybe scheduling a day, either that you're in your office or maybe even a weekend day, because it is a time investment. It's really worth it, because it's going to pay dividends going forward. Right. Like you were saying with your assistant that couldn't find the file occasionally. If she were to set up a system and it were to take her an hour or 2 hours to set up a really great system at her desk, she's going to be able to find things and she's going to get that time back eventually. So putting the time in, scheduling that time, whether it's outside of work hours or on the weekend, to really set yourself up with a good system, pull everything out. It's a great chance to clean the nooks and crannies in the drawers or underneath your desk mat that might, you might have spilled coffee on your desk at some point. It's a really great time to sort of hit that refresh button on everything, but you're never going to know what you really have unless you pull it all out and sort it like with like. So I really recommend not doing it piecemeal. Just put the time in, take a couple of hours, and really do it the right way, because you'll be kicking yourself if you kind of piecemeal it and then you're having to go back and redo it more often.
Yeah, and that sparked an idea in me. When we do tasks that we're not really looking forward to, for me, I like doing them with other people, like share the agony. So I wonder, if you do work in a small team and say it's you and a couple other people in a shared office space, like do it together. Put on some good music, maybe pull out some cocktails or snacks and like make a thing of it, and so you're all doing it together. You're all having a chit chat, and, maybe you're able to kind of, I don't know, again, share the agony, but also share the fun, make it a little bit more playful as well.
You are speaking my language. I suggest that all the time. You help somebody, they help you. You get it done more quickly, and it's fun. And then not only do you have a good result of having a clean desk or a clean workspace or an organized workspace, especially if you're in a team. Now everybody knows where everything is. If you're out and somebody needs something off your desk, they know your system.
That's right. That's a very good point. And I think, again, we'll want to talk about this later on the episode of maintenance and keeping the upkeep after you've got the magic system set. But I think that's true, is like when it starts to unravel is when, somebody throws a file on your desk or puts it in your chair or somewhere, you're not going to be able to find it. And that's where things get lost.
Yep.
All right. So I talked about the fact that paper is my kryptonite. Side note to anybody that's listening, if you ever send me a handwritten letter, I absolutely love getting those in the mail. So please keep the mail and the fans' letters coming. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I seem to get everything else. And this is where I struggle. So how can we start to create a paper or document management system?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to touch things as few times as possible. So if you're noticing, like, you get that pile of mail on your desk when it comes in, there's bound to be things that are in there that are not things that need your attention, that you don't even have to open that envelope. It's an advertisement for something that you don't need to buy right now, or just something that you don't necessarily need. Go ahead and put that into a shred pile, put it into the recycling. Stop touching it at this point.
Yep.
Because if you just kind of set it aside and you're like, oh, I'll open this later, that open this later pile is going to grow and grow and grow. And then you're either going to A, waste a lot of time going back through there to determine if it's something you need, or B, you're just going to end up tossing it anyways. And so just get rid of it now to begin with. So then the next step is, okay, what are the things that I need to process now? And what are the things that can process later? So if it's something like it's just a paid statement from a bill that you paid, that's something you can go ahead, open it up and put it away in some sort of filing system. And we'll talk in just a second about what different types of filing systems you can have. But, this is something that you can just right now do it and get it out of the way. David Allen has a great book called Getting Things Done. And he talks about his 2-minute rule, that if you have something that you can do in 2 minutes or less, do it now. And that is something that I really talk about with my clients and my coaching students, that a lot of times we put off these little things like filing a statement that has a place to go. We let them pile up in an inbox or in a file box instead of just doing it. So if we go through and those are the things that we know just need to go into a file, we do it now. And then the third is something that needs your attention. And so then you have to figure out, like, is this something that I need to share with somebody else in the office? Is this something that needs to be processed that's going to take a little bit more of my time? It's a bill that needs to be paid. It's a request for information that needs to be processed. That needs to go into its own little place onto a to-do list. It needs to have a very special place so it's not mixed in with the stuff that is just archival or fileable, or stuff that's just recyclable. Really sort of divide it into those what goes now, what can be put away, and what needs action. Those 3 files for what is coming in.
Yeah, and I imagine then for that third thing, if it has a to-do attached to it and it's being assigned to a team member, then, one thing that's working for us is we have Slack set up as our internal communication software for all of our team. And our entire team actually is virtual. So we have people in the UK, Canada, and the US now. And so if something comes into the UK office, physical mail that somebody, say, in Canada needs to see or touch, we scan it or snap a quick photo of it, drop it into Slack and say, hey, can you handle blah, 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 and do it by this date? And then it's pushed, off onto the person that needs it. And all of a sudden, it's one less piece of paper to deal with.
Exactly. And so then that paper needs a place to go, because if you need to touch that original, either file it by the person that you gave it to. So, this is Mary's. I sent this to Mary via Slack. And then if Mary comes to you and she needs the original of that document, she knows she can just go to the Mary file that's in your desk or that's in your shared office space. Or, if it's a particular vendor that you are addressing, they know that they can go to that place, Verizon, they can go to that file and pull out what they need. But after you've done that, you need something to do with that original piece of paper, but get it off your desk, because you've technically processed it. If you've pushed it away, it doesn't need to be sitting in a tray on your desk or something like that. It just needs to be someplace where organizing, and I say this over and over again, it's all about retrieval of information. That is why we get organized. It's so that when we need to find something, we can find it. It's not about pretty little labels on everything. That's great, but essentially that's decorating.
Yeah.
What organizing is retrieval of information at a moment's notice. And so that is, once you've passed along the task to that person, then put it where they can retrieve that information in a logical place.
And that's the ultimate art of simplifying, is that you are limiting the amounts of times you're touching that piece of paper. You're working efficiently as a team. You're getting things done. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So different types of files, again, for paper files, run through that again.
So you can be a piler or you can be a filer. Those are like my 2 categories that we talk about. And there's nothing wrong. There's not a right or wrong way to do things. Some people really prefer being able to have things in sort of trays and gather. But overall, anything that's going to be sort of archival really does need to go in some sort of vertical filing system. Now, how you label those vertical files really has to do with how your brain works. So some people really like things alphabetized. People really like things grouped by types. Is this something dealing with money? Is this something dealing with clients? Is this something, dealing with advertising or marketing? Maybe come up with a color-coded system that all the red stuff is marketing and all the green stuff has to do with money. Something that works like that for your office. The other thing that you could do is, I love verbs for files, especially if you create what's called a tickler file. It's sort of the files that you put on your desk. Those are your action files. I love saying like to do or pay or, anything that has to do with an action so you get a statement in and you need to call this person to do a follow-up or to schedule an interview, email, you put that into an email file. And then when you have your time in the morning, when you sit down to answer or respond to emails, you grab that out of the email file and that's the stuff you need to take action on. So that's another option. And scanning and creating digital files, which sounds like it might be perfect for your office, and you just don't keep as much of the paper at all. Now, I don't believe that a truly 100% paperless office is possible. Like, not 100%.
Come on, Christy.
I am the paper-free queen. Like, we haven't had paper statements in my personal home or in my business for, I don't know, I've been in business for 10 years. I've never had paper bills coming in. But you will have paper coming in, but you can make them paperless by having some sort of scanning. And maybe it's a matter of that's somebody's job, is that after people have sort of processed things, then they go into a scan file. And once a week, somebody goes in there and scans them into the proper digital place where those items need to go. But then again, you need to have a system in your computer of how those go. And again, what are the things that you're looking at? What are the groups? These are clients. These are podcast guests. These are potential marketing opportunities. Yep. These are speaking engagements. figure out where those things are going to go, figure out a system that, you're the person that touches it and Mary is the person that's going to scan it. You write at the top speaking engagement and she scans it in and it goes into the speaking engagement file on the computer. Then you know where it's going to be. She knows where it's going to go and everybody's sort of on board with where to find it. Because again, that's what organizing is all about, finding that information when you would need it.
So I'm going to pause you right there because it's a whole lot of stuff that you said and it's so good. One that I heard you say is, really looking at where the piece of paper is going next, who's taking action on it, and then putting it away, like after you've got the system through. I love that. Two, I know we have quite a few people in the events industry that listens to our podcast. So, one thing that worked for the Simplifiers when we were event planners is actually setting up our filing system by client event. So each client had its own folder, which had all the things in it. But those folders all lived per quarter. So first quarter, 2019, second quarter, 2019, third quarter, fourth quarter, and that quarter is based on when the event date is. So that might also be helpful for you. So if you work with, say, Facebook and you work with them on multiple events, it's actually organized by client event, and that might be a solution for those that are listening.
And it really comes down to how you're going to retrieve that information.
That's right.
So you probably wanted to go back in and you'd be like, remember when we did that event for Facebook in September of 2018? Oh, okay, now I know that I go to that quarter to find it. But if that isn't working for your particular business, like say you want to go by type of event, if you're an event planner. So weddings, and you're like spring weddings, summer weddings, fall weddings, and that's how you want to do it so that you can go back in and pull those client files. Say you want to show something to a potential client that down the road would want something similar. Now you have all of your spring weddings all in the same sort of like filing cabinet or area. So really think about how you want to go back and retrieve that and use that information when you're thinking about how you want to set it up.
Totally. And, one more on top of that is if you have your own company handbook or training manual, document that as well and say, this is how we find and file our paper files in this office. This is how and where to find these critical files that you're looking for as well. So document it in your standard operating procedures. And then I think, Christy, I also maybe heard or interpreted you say that, if a piece of paper has been delegated off, like the third place to file it is not a fire pit. But, to actually have an ending place for that piece of paper to go so it's not sitting on your desk waiting for somebody else to do something about it as well. Though, a fire pit would be a great way to file stuff.
I am not opposed to that. I am also not suggesting it. But yes, I get, the thing is that when it comes down to it, if it's still sitting on your desk a week later, then do you remember, did I send this off? Is so-and-so working on it? Who has this? What's going on with this? But if it's in its end place, you know that something has been done because it is followed from point A to point B all the way to Z, and it is in its place. So you come in and you say, hey, I know that this has been followed through because it's in its end place versus it's sitting on your desk and you're like, well, who's working on this? What's going on with this? Why is it sitting on my desk?
Yeah. And we're all working at 90 bazillion miles an hour right now. You can't slow down to mess about with filing and things like that. So I'm 100% on board with that. Okay. So now let's take this all one step deeper. How do we start to create online document storage best practices?
So it depends on the size of office that you're doing or that you're in. But the cloud is really super helpful, especially like you're saying, you've got people in Canada and in the US and in the UK, and they all kind of need to have access to the same thing. So find a solution, whether it's OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive, something that's going to work for everybody that's on your team. And then again, look at the way that you want to retrieve the information and then start just like you would with a paper filing system. You're going to start with broad categories like clients or events or months of the year, and then just niche it down so that you can put your hands on what you need to put your hands on in a quick and easy way. So it's going to look different from company to company and business to business. And whether you're somebody who has 50 people working under you or it's just you, really think about how you want to go back in. I'm reworking my files right now. I've recently started transitioning a little bit from hands-on work into a little bit more digital space. And I'm finding that I feel clunky when I'm going into my OneDrive files. And so I've recently started kind of doing a little bit of a shift of stuff that I previously was keeping in a marketing file. I've now shifted out into their own sort of social media, and then by Instagram and Facebook, pictures that I've taken and posts that I've made. I've sort of changed things around. And that's the thing, we'll kind of talk about this a little bit, but change it if it's not working for you. But, what worked for me previously wasn't still working for me. So I kind of shifted things around a little bit and tweaked it so that it continued to work for me. But I really had to think of how I was now using this information that was previously stored one place, and now I'm storing it someplace else where I can retrieve it a little bit easier. So how are you going to use that information? Where is going to be the logical place that you are going to go look for it? Or if you bring somebody new onto the team, you can say, this is all of our marketing stuff. And under marketing, this is social media, this is speaking engagements, so on and so forth.
Right. And a couple of things in this specific area. So in the show notes for this episode, so if you go to the simplifierspodcast.com, you'll be able to find an affiliate link from the Simplifiers for G Suite. So this is how we save all of our documents online file storage through Google Drive. And I'm telling you guys, it is such a night and day difference. When you know where everything is, you can have multiple people accessing the same file at the same time, real-time access. It makes such a huge difference. And so
smart.
Yeah. And so we are moving away as much as we possibly can from storing files in a physical realm in the physical UK office, just because everybody's over around the world. But then also by being really, really smart with how we store our files online through Google Drive, we're also really training our clients on how to communicate with us and to not send us 80 bazillion emails either. So we communicate through Google Docs, in the comment sections of a doc or a spreadsheet, rather than, bogging down your inbox to get that important information. So it's a game changer. So we'll put that link in the show notes for you guys to check that out. But then also I imagine, somebody like Christy would be more than happy to walk you through a process or audit your online file storage or ways that you're doing. Even though she's in Ohio, it doesn't matter. If you live in Singapore, she can definitely help you. So make sure to click in the links in the show notes to be able to access her as well. So, okay, great. Our files in our office look amazing. Our desk looks manageable. It will work. Our online document storage is starting to look better. There's structure in place. So now the $80 bazillion question, Christy. How in the world do we maintain our newly decluttered workspace over time? Because this is where it all starts to fall apart, especially during our busy season.
Absolutely. One of the things I feel like a broken record when I say over and over again is you do not get organized. It is not a finish line. It is the development of a skill. And so what you have to do is retrain your brain. And so getting the space all beautiful and having a system in place is step one. It's not the end game. What you have to do now is to maintain and really develop those skills that will help you stay organized. And the big thing that I talk about, whether it's in an office space or in a closet, is you have to hit that reset or refresh button on a regular basis. And you need to make it an appointment. You need to schedule it to happen. Because if you just think, oh, I'm going to do it sometime this quarter, or oh, I'm going to do it sometime this year, you'll never do it. But if you say, every Friday, I am going to make sure that my desk is clear. I'm going to take the last 15 minutes of the day and make sure that everything gets put back into place so that when I come into work on Monday morning, it is set and ready for me to go. It's not me thumbing through what I was working on Friday, trying to figure out what it is that I need for this week, can't find my planner, so on and so forth.
Right.
You are refreshed and ready to go. And whether that's a weekly thing that you do, whether it's a quarterly thing that you do to make sure that your inbox is completely empty, your emails are all deleted and you've gone through and gotten rid of things in your digital world, making sure that there's any digital files. We like to forget to delete things that we don't need any longer from our digital files, making it a point to regularly hit that reset button and get it back to that original feeling that we had, that original sort of elation that we had in getting everything organized. We want to do that on a regular basis, because the further and further we get away from that original point, the harder and harder it is to get back. But if you spend just a little bit of time on a regular basis, it's going to be so much easier to keep that system in place.
I like that. And I mean, I do that in other aspects of my calendar where, once a month I'll move files from this computer over to this computer. And I have a system in place for that. But I've never really thought about scheduling in even a half an hour to just reset the workspace, maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks. I love that idea of just booking that into your calendar with intentionality. Because, people book into my calendar weeks in advance. My next 4 to 6 weeks are already planned out because that's just how my life is. But I love the idea of actually being proactive and putting that time in place first. Yeah.
And you have to remember that, if it took you 2 hours to get your desk back in order the first time, it's not going to take you 2 hours to hit the reset, because you've gotten rid of things that you don't need. You now have a system in place. So if you take 10 or 15 minutes, and you may find that it only takes 5 minutes, but get it out of your head that it's going to take that 2 hours to hit the reset. And the more often you do it, the more efficient you're going to become at it, and the easier it's going to get for you.
Yeah. And if you are a mom listening to this and you are like me, where, paper seems to come into your household in droves, and it seems to head straight to my home office. I don't know about you. But yeah, again, this is you giving yourself that loving gift every week, after they've gone off to school, and you're like, okay, right, where do I begin? This is a good place to kind of hit that reset button as well.
Absolutely.
Any other final tips for people on the maintenance side of things, either online with their file storage, on their email, or actually in their workspace?
No, I think that the biggest thing is don't be afraid. Don't be scared to jump into something that feels a little overwhelming. Baby steps, take time. Like you said, do it with a friend and really work on creating a system, a very basic system that works for you, and then maintaining it. And what you'll notice with these maintenance sessions is that's maybe where you throw in a few tweaks. Like this Friday, you really want to go through and make a couple extra file folders to make a little bit better categories for one of your broad categories, but just don't be afraid of it. I think sometimes people think it's going to just take so much time and that it might not be worth your effort. It will always be worth your effort, and it may not take as much time as you think.
And I would probably also add on to that, don't start by going to Target or the office supply store and get all the things first. I think you get your space set, and then you're like, okay, right, I need a little thing right here to hold this thing, and then I need maybe this for that. But don't start by buying $100 worth of office supplies, right?
No, because A, you're going to waste your time taking them all back because chances are you won't need them. And B, you aren't going to know what you really need until you sort it all out, purge what you don't need, and really decide, like we talked about, what is it you need to have within close proximity on your desk. And until you know those things from that sorting and purging process, you aren't going to know what products you need to buy.
Yes. Okay, great. So again, if you're curious about Christy and the work that she does, which is brilliant, might I add, her podcast is so much fun to listen to. Cocktails and Containers is what you want to search for wherever you get your podcasts. But you can also find her online at simpleSolutionsOrganizing.com, and that's where she is hanging out. So again, thank you, Christy. I really appreciate having you on. It's so fun to kind of geek out about this stuff, and I think this is an important topic for a lot of business owners that are listening.
100%, because especially if you're by yourself, you have to be organized because there are way too many balls up in the air. Yeah. That you have to have a system in place, because I'm a solopreneur. I don't have anybody else with me. But trust me when I tell you, being organized will help you achieve so much more.
Yeah, for sure. So, Christy, a couple of questions that I like to ask everybody that comes on the podcast. First and foremost, what is one book or blog that you're reading these days that's either inspiring you or maybe even poking holes and challenging you a bit?
So I geek out over The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Okay. So I am an obliger. And, I was told to read it by my business coach. And essentially it is 4 different personality types based on how you process expectations, whether you are internally accountable, whether you're externally accountable. And for myself, I am very externally accountable to people, but not so internally accountable to myself. And for years, I thought I was doing something wrong. Like there was something wrong with me because I don't understand why I can't go out and exercise unless I'm training to run a marathon or something like that. And it turns out I just need a coach. And by sort of flipping that switch in my brain, it has opened a whole world to me. It's been about 18 months since I initially read the book. I've read it twice. I've taken the quiz. I've made everybody in my house take the quiz. I've made my whole family take the quiz because it changes the way that I talk to my husband. Now that I know my husband is a rebel and I'm an obliger, I talk to him differently. He knows how I work. I know how he works. And just from a business standpoint, I think about my clients. What kind of accountability do they need me to be? Do they need me to answer questions because they're a questioner? Or do they need me to follow up with them with text messages on a regular basis because they're an obliger and they know that if I'm checking in on them, that they're going to feel obligated to do what I need? So it really was an eye-opener for me. And it sort of took away a lot of those feelings of I'm not doing something right because I can't motivate myself. It wasn't that I wasn't motivating myself. It's just that I need to be externally accountable.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good book. We'll put the link in the show notes for people to check that out because, again, it's a great way to simplify down and start to understand the inner psyche of yourself, but then also your clients and any partners that you're working with. So tell us, who's one person in your network that you just feel is up to brilliant things that maybe we could shine a spotlight on them and who knows, maybe even have them on the podcast one day?
So I am very lucky to be personal friends with, but also a big fangirl of Amy Landino, who is the host of Amy TV. She's also here in Columbus. I've known Amy since before she even started her business. And the stuff she's doing with the morning routine right now is genius. I don't have mine quite up to snuff like she does, but I am waking up earlier in the morning. I do find that I do get a lot more done because I'm up way before my kids are, and I have a good 2 to 2.5 hours to work on stuff for me and really start my day my way before they wake up, and then we get into school, and it's summer now, so it's a little bit easier since they're not having to get up as early. But the stuff that she's doing with morning routines and calendar blocking and productivity and things like that, it's an inspiration to me, and I'm lucky to be able to sort of have her ear and talk to her about things personally. But she's awesome. And if you are looking for productivity tips or really interested in sort of that morning routine and how to put one in place, I would highly recommend checking out Amy TV or her Detail Therapy podcast.
Yeah, I can vouch for her. She is absolutely brilliant. We will definitely have her on the podcast soon. Okay, so Christy, gratitude and simplicity, in my mind, they go hand in hand. So tell us, what's one thing you're grateful for these days?
I'm so grateful for my family. It is summertime and we have been spending a lot of time together. Yesterday, my husband was here in the morning, so I worked in the morning. And when he left for work, we spent the whole day, me and my boys, just going to the library and going to the park. It's just one of those times where I stop in the middle of the day and look around and I think, I'm so lucky that they understand that there are times when I need to work, but then that there are times that we get to play. And because I have started this business and I work for myself, it affords me the opportunity to have these moments in the middle of the week with them during the summer. So, and I'm so grateful for them and their snuggles, and, they won't be young long, and I'm sure that they won't like me at some point, but right now it's amazing.
Oh, I'm the same way. My kids are 9 and 10 at the time of this recording. And yeah, I realize that time is fleeting, that they're no longer going to be snuggle bugs and, probably think I'm just completely nerdy and geeky, so yeah, you have to remember, if you are your own business and you're listening to this right now, remember you are in control of your schedule. So enjoy this time, focus on the right things in your work schedule and get rid of the rest. Okay. Yep. Reminder to everybody that you can find Christy online at simpleSolutionsOrganizing.com. Also, where do you hang out online on social media?
So I'm an Instagram nerd. I love Instagram, and you can find me at Christy Lingo. That's ChristyLingo, just like the bingo song.
Perfect.
And then I also have a really fun Facebook group called Cocktails and Containers to go alongside my podcast. And we just got done doing a fun challenge. We called it My Mess Mondays, and we're going to get ready to do a 50-day summer simplifying challenge in there. And it's just a great way. It's a bunch of moms that get together and we talk about ways to declutter spaces. People will put pictures up and then they will be like, oh, I use this to declutter my sink, or, so on and so forth. It's just a fun little place. And you always get my cocktail recipes every week in there.
Brilliant. And I think that's what I like the most about your style, and is that there's a little bit of an edge to it. We're not talking about absolute perfection and like Pinterest perfect pictures that are totally staged and not real. Like, you're talking about real life world. Like, you got kids, you got mess. This is how to simplify. I love it.
Yep.
Okay, so Christy, last question for you today. And again, just want to take a moment to acknowledge you. The work you're doing is brilliant. I love it. I'm a fangirl over here as well, that I think you're doing amazing things. Keep going. So somebody somewhere out in the world is listening to this episode right now, and she's inspired. She maybe chuckled along. She maybe resonated with my friend Emily and her cluttered chaos of how she had her work desk. But she's inspired. She wants to declutter her workspace. But she's looking around and she's going, oh my God, this is a lot. I'm totally overwhelmed. So what's one thing that you could whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her in this moment?
Pick one small spot and start there. It doesn't have to be the whole desktop. Pick one pile, pick one drawer, pick one corner of your desk and get that cleared, and then relish in how good it feels, because that's what's going to carry you forward to get the rest of it done.
Totally. And maybe put on some good music. Grab some snacks.
Yeah.
Do the
and
thing.
A glass of wine.
Yeah, doesn't hurt. Thank you, Christy, so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.